Testing.
Hello.
All right, welcome back to the second episode of the But It's Not That Serious podcast. Yay, I have my friend Alyssa here from the Bay. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We actually just came back from dinner, and she treated me to Nobu, so I felt like a sugar baby.
Happy anniversary.
We also told them that it was our anniversary, and everyone kept saying congratulations. And it honestly technically is like our friendship anniversary in terms of meeting each other. So it's been like 6 years since we've been friends, but it wasn't necessarily like a relationship anniversary, but it was just kind of funny because everyone thought it was. Anywho, we didn't get anything free, by the way. It was just like...
We got some free handwriting on the plate when we ordered our desserts.
Yeah, they wrote in chocolate happy anniversary, and they took pictures for us. And they were like so happy for us. So, I don't know. The people were sweet.
Cute.
Yeah. Okay, so today we have our little drinks of choice. It's makgeolli. If you guys don't know what that is, it's a Korean rice wine.
Rice wine.
We got it's guksundang rice in the banana flavor, because I keep hearing banana flavor is actually really good. Do you like it?
It's pretty good. It's pretty reminiscent of the banana milk. I like makgeolli in general.
It's good.
Any flavor should be really good on top of that.
I think the banana flavor is a little overpowering, but that's probably our fault for getting the banana flavored one.
I can still taste the rice wine part of it.
Okay, so today, since my friend is here, so I just want to give like a little bit of an introduction. So me first, I am Michelle Kim. I'm 24 years old, graduated UCLA, actually with Alyssa. We are college buddies, roommates, friends, etc. With a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and I'm currently working at a defense tech startup. So what about you? Introduce yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my name is Alyssa. I'm 24 years old. I also graduated with Michelle from UCLA with my bachelor's in mechanical engineering. I'm currently working at a clean energy startup. We make fuel flexible generators.
Cool. I don't know anything about that. So clearly she's like a lot more smarter in that area than I am. But just to give like a little bit more context on our relationship and like why we are friends. We both graduated 2022, so we've been 2 years out of college. We met during our freshman year, so that was 2018. Mm-hmm. So it's been 6 years. And the thing about how we met is that our dorms were actually somewhat organized, I think, by major. So our floor was was like full of either CS or engineering majors.
I think it was organized as a major. I didn't ever think of that.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was like full of engineering majors. Well, anyway, if you guys...
My roommates were engineers. So I never really thought about it that way.
My roommates were also engineers.
My roommates weren't engineers.
Oh, they weren't engineers.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Honestly,
And the first people I ever met in the dorm during our move-in days were also not engineers.
Really?
So I never had that impression.
So us meeting was fate. Actually, I don't know. She could be right. I thought it was just full of engineers, but I could definitely be wrong. And for anybody that has gone to UCLA, we were on Reber North.
7 North.
7 North. So 7th floor, north side. And that was our dorm. And it was a lot of fun, but that's where we went. That's where we met. And throughout college, we basically had similar classes as well. So we always like saw each other, and I guess we'll kind of go into this later, but when you're in engineering school, the top thing to keep in mind is to make sure that you have friends and make sure you make friends right off the bat, just so you have that support system within your academic career. So that said, we had the same classes. We helped each other with our homework and our assignments and our projects. And I think throughout the years, we just like kept working on the same things and like were able to help each other, even if we didn't share the same classes. And eventually, for our third and fourth year, we moved in together into the same apartment, Glen Rock, let's go, into a 1-bed, 1-bath. How many square foot was it? It was like so tiny.
I know.
Oh my God. There was, so it was us two and one other roommate. Her name's Shruti.
Shout out to Shruti.
Shout out to Shruti.
If you're watching this, hi.
I'm gonna force her to listen to this one. We were in a really tiny 1-bed, 1-bath, crammed like 3 twin beds into a tiny, tiny room.
Which didn't feel that weird because that was kind of our living situation our first 2 years anyways, especially our first year.
When you're in college, your standard of living is just so low. You pay
a horrendous
rent.
Amount.
Yeah, for like
to live in a
tiniest.
closet.
Oh my gosh.
It builds character.
It does build character. It really tests your friendships as well.
I think everyone should go through that.
I agree.
It makes you a better person.
In general.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes you a better roommate for like the future as well.
Yeah.
Because now you're sharing a space with somebody you haven't grown up with.
Yeah.
And
Unless you go through college and no one ever calls you out on your bullshit. Then that's bad.
Yeah. But then that just means that person was just holding it in for a little too long. So, yeah, and after we graduated, we sort of just separated on our way. She moved back to the Bay where her home is, and I stayed in LA and took my return offer from SpaceX, which is in Hawthorne. So, that said, did you have any other notes before we get into the questions?
I don't know how deep you want to get into like ASMR.
Oh, so we have a friend group that has been created through a organization called ASME. It's American Society of Mechanical Engineers at UCLA, and that is kind of where our friendship grew even further. We have a pretty large friend group from that. And
I was gonna say we were friends before that group formed. Because we were always part of the group.
Us too. Yeah, we were friends before that, and we actually joined and did the activities together before we actually got pretty much integrated into the
club.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was we wanted to join the club because it was an area for professional development, technical development, and then eventually we started forming friendships with other people in the club.
Yeah, we eventually just took over leadership, and I think I don't know, it's a pretty long story when it comes to like it's 4 years, right? So of course it's like a pretty long story. But that said, like we basically at this point in time talk every single day on iMessage. We
don't talk on iMessage.
Oh, no, not iMessage, sorry. Facebook Messenger. Let me get that right. Actually, all my college friends, I think I talk over Facebook Messenger. And then all of my home friends, I talk on iMessage. And then Instagram DMs.
Yeah.
But we basically chat each other every day, I think.
I feel like we go through periods where...
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're not always talking.
Either way. Whenever...
We keep each other up to date.
Oh, yeah. And then there will be times where we call each other and we just won't... We'll just yap for straight like an hour or two. And it's always like in the car too.
Yeah.
I'm always in the car going home
You're always
from work.
driving somewhere.
Yeah. It's always like on my way home from work. But yeah, anyways, we have known each other for 6 years. So like we've lived with each other. We've seen our worst and our best. And currently we don't live with each other, but she's here visiting me. My cat is here. Hey. Hi, Harvey.
Want to try?
He is so interested in the makgeolli. Oh no, he hates it. Hi, Harvey.
He's so quiet. Dinner? Hungry?
I thought you called my cat dinner.
I'm just saying the keywords.
Hi.
He's not meowing.
No.
Hungry?
Are you hungry? No, he's not hungry.
He's not hungry anymore.
Yeah.
He got his meal.
Okay. That said, now we've been in the industry for 2 years. I have started my second company in terms of work. You are also on your second company for post-grad?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we both did our internships like during college. Where were your internships at?
The summer after my second year, I interned at a very small aerospace startup. Summer after my third year, I interned at SpaceX in Redmond, Washington. And after I graduated, I interned at a biotech startup in the Bay Area. And then after that internship, I ended up moving onto a different company as a full-time engineer, which is the company I'm currently at right now. It's in renewable, kind of renewable energy, clean energy, just like the power industry in general.
Nice. And just to show how deep our friendship goes, when she interned at SpaceX in Seattle, basically, when she ended, so she had brought her car up so that she could drive it around. And on her way down, obviously, she needs to bring her car back down. I flew up to meet her. And this is also selfish, by the way, because I also wanted to visit. And we drove down together from Seattle all the way to the Bay where she lives. I did get a speeding ticket out of that. But to be fair, the highway patrol was just like
that was
waiting.
Shitty, yeah.
Because I didn't see him. Like, he was just hiding the whole time. And I'm sure he
I still don't know where they came out of.
Anyways, that was...
There's like a one-lane freeway on the one
cars.
in northern California in the middle of the Redwood National Park.
It was in Eureka County. Yeah. So, that was tragic. $400 down the drain. Anyways, we're going to go into now some questions. So I prepared some questions just so that she doesn't have to like prepare too much content on her end. And how we're going to kind of go through these questions is first all the way from the beginning of college to now industry. So it's going to be 2 different sections. One is college and kind of like, motivations for getting into engineering school. And then now thoughts about going into industry. Going into the college side of things, kind of to, maybe it's even before college, but why did you want to be an engineer in the first place? And you can be totally honest, because for me, it was mainly for the money, I will say. I think even from the beginning, I wasn't exactly passionate about being an engineer, but the money was extremely enticing. So that's kind of like my main reason. But for you, like, what was that reason?
Mm-hmm. I think this kind of goes back to like choosing your major, and like you kind of have to choose your path pretty early on in high school. The classes you take, not to refresh my memory a lot, but the classes you take, the exams, the APs you take, all kind of lead to the majors that you end up applying to and the colleges you end up applying to. To go back to your question, like why I chose to be an engineer, it was less about choosing engineering as a profession than choosing engineering as a major or a field of study, because all of the classes I focused on in high school were STEM oriented, specifically physics and calculus. And so from that, I kind of narrowed it down to a couple of different engineering disciplines, like obviously not bioengineering because I hated biology at the time. Now I think it's pretty interesting, and I had a little stint in biotech, but it kind of narrowed my options, or what I thought were my options at the time, to like civil engineering, mechanical engineering, couple probably more obscure ones like structural engineering, but I guess I ended up going with mechanical engineering because I didn't think that I would do well as a student in like humanities or the biological sciences or like chemical sciences. So it ended up narrowing my choices a lot.
That's like super interesting. So like from the beginning in high school, you felt that almost like you just didn't have a choice except like go into engineering because of the classes that were offered?
It wasn't that I didn't have a choice. It was more like I wasn't interested in anything else. Like I didn't think I could study 4 years of history or social science.
Got it.
It was kind of the path I believed that I could be more successful in because I was able to excel more in those kinds of physics and calculus classes in high school.
I think most of my questions are actually more about college as a whole rather than engineering college. But before we get more into like college as a whole, I kind of wanted to ask, in your memory, I know it's been 2 years, what is kind of like your best or your favorite class that you took at UCLA or, and your least favorite?
Okay.
I actually don't know this. I don't think I've ever asked you.
I think I have 2 favorite classes. These 2 are, I think, classes I took my very first year. I guess in your first year, you're still taking very general classes like calculus, physics 1, and general chemistry. I think I sucked a lot at general chemistry, but I really enjoyed the chem lab because
Really?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite classes.
Oh my gosh.
I think I took that my winter quarter of
No way.
our first year. Yeah.
I don't know a single you're the first person that I think I've talked to that like actually liked that class.
I love that class.
That's crazy.
I think I liked it partly because of the way the professor organized it.
Okay.
I mean, first of all, it was very organized. His modules and his lectures were...
Oh, so he was actually organized.
Yeah, they were very well written, and he distributed all the materials. And I enjoyed the labs because like he would have us adequately prepare materials before the lab. Like we would have assignments due like on the day of the lab that needed to get checked off by the TA before you would be able to actually go on to do the lab during the like 3-hour session. And I'm a very independent worker, so I like doing these labs by myself. Like for instance, we would have titration
lab.
Yeah, and I was weirdly like really good at titrations. I would always get it on the first try, and I'd and like also I think we had like some spectroscopy lab or whatever. So I'm also like a very meticulous and organized person, so I would always prepare the materials we were asked to prepare really well, which is very helpful on the lab day because then what you do is he would ask us to like transcribe the lab instructions in our own words into like steps. So I'd follow like steps 1 through 10 that I wrote down in my own notebook. And I was already familiar with these steps. So I like on the day of the lab, I would
like it's
just
easy.
go through like walk through all the steps. And weirdly enough, I was like able to get the titration right on the first try. And I just like check off all the boxes, gather my data, and then our assignment for the next week was to like go home, analyze that data. And I felt like everything went really smoothly, like clockwork in that lab. And I would actually always be the first person to finish the lab.
Oh, and just dip?
And just dip like up to an hour or 2 hours early.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and there were like 20 people in that lab section. I would like always be the first person out the door.
Oh my gosh. You were always the person that everyone just looked at really jealously. Oh my gosh.
It was weird. Like I really enjoyed that because of the organization of it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I was like always dealing with like 1000% errors, like negative error. I was like, what is going on? So would you say that like was your favorite class throughout your 4 years?
I think that was one of my favorite classes. The other one that I can think of was MAE 94.
Oh, the CAD class.
Yeah, that was the class that like taught us kind of the basics of mechanical engineering as first years. Well, you didn't have to take it as a first year, but I took it as a first year with
Smart choice.
Professor Schaefer, Dr. Schaefer. He had a lot of insights like from all his years as a professor and all his years in industry. So yeah, he gave us, especially like the first years in that class, a very good intro to why we have certain processes in mechanical engineering, intro to CAD, computer-aided design, in SolidWorks, intro to drawings in SolidWorks. So I always felt like before I took that class, I was pretty unsure why I was in mechanical engineering. But after I took that class, I was at a point where I definitely knew I wanted to stay in the major because I actually like understood what the major was.
Yeah.
Whereas before that class, I was so lost.
Yeah,
I didn't know what
it just wasn't practical
I chose.
until
I didn't know why I
put
chose
pen to
what
paper.
I chose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the CAD class was one of my top favorites. I will say, I think there's not enough of those because we only had one, right? One CAD class technically of like where they actually teach us how to do computer modeling and drawings, especially.
The other stuff we kind of just learned on our own through clubs and internships.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy.
It's on you as a student to learn it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because even throughout our 4 years, like one example is that they never teach you how to make an engineering drawing as a mechanical engineering student. And
still don't know
it's
how
so
to do one.
essential to know if you decide to become a design engineer.
Yeah.
So essential. They ask you it on every interview.
Yeah.
They ask you how you do GD&T, geometric.
We were never taught GD&T.
What does the D
Yeah.
stand for? Geometric,
Dimensioning
and tolerancing.
I don't think they've ever taught us how to do a tolerance stack up.
Yeah, tolerance stack up
Yeah, that's definitely something that you learn
like a feature control frame.
like through internships.
That's something I copied through my first internship and started understanding it very, very slowly.
By the way, what did you say like what engineer you are currently working as?
No. I am currently a test engineer. I was previously a reliability engineer. I do a lot of systems integration testing, and I do less of the granular subsystem level testing, and I do none of the design.
And I'm actually a reliability engineer, so the thing that you used to do,
Yeah.
I'm currently, and I've always been a reliability engineer since my internships. And what we do is a lot of proactive measures to first analyze and root cause issues that we see on the field or in our production facilities or in test. And use that data to then create proactive measures to either fix the design, close loops on any issues, and drive prediction models so that we know when certain units in the field are going to have to be replaced or maintenanced, and try to save costs and just our reputation. Anyways, going back to the original question, just really quickly, like what was your least favorite class?
I would say probably EE100.
Oh my God,
electrical
same.
engineering class. I just, at some point, after you get past the basic circuits, my brain just shuts off.
Like, those memes that are like, oh, the homework problems. It's like super simple, like resistor circuit and like voltage drop circuit. And then the tests, and it's like all these parallel and series connections and like things you have to calculate. And I just never got it. And I think truly the geniuses in the engineering world are electrical engineers and like firmware engineers. Or like
just
really
wizards.
deep
You
software.
can't see electricity. Like, what is 480 volts?
Yeah.
I don't know. What is AC power?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
And those
just a
people
wave.
will tell you, and they're like, it's just like water. And I'm like, it's really not.
Yeah.
But huge respect to electrical engineers. Like, I could never even begin to understand what they do. Honestly, I would say the same. I think my least favorite would either be EE 100, which is like the basic electrical engineering class, or I also didn't like the first systems class. I think 107.
What's that? Oh,
yeah.
Control systems?
Yeah, controls.
Yeah, that's a notoriously difficult class.
Yeah, but then 171 with Dr. Iwasaki was so good. So I don't know. Also, I think a lot of classes and how you experience certain classes are very dependent on your professor.
Yeah, for sure.
So just be wary for any college. This is going to be true. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Cool. Next question. In terms of just overall college experience, my cat is scratching his post. We're gonna wait a second, give a little, and he sneezed. Kind of not related to any of the previous questions, but COVID-19, college through COVID. So our our last quarter of our second year, and I believe most of our third year was done through COVID. I wanted to get your thoughts on that in general. Also, I will say we had a pretty atypical experience. I think most college kids either stayed at home and just didn't see their friends at all. However, our friend group, excluding some few that did stay at home, we ended up moving into our Glen Rock apartment and we just like hung out with each other. And we only saw each other, so it wasn't necessarily like irresponsible of us, but we were with each other to help us through like our classes. But in general, like what are your thoughts about like college through COVID? And do you think like it affected your quality of college?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely like a complete upheaval of the college experience.
Yeah.
In some ways, I'm gonna get canceled for saying this.
Go ahead, just go ahead.
I'm kind of glad it happened, but at the same time, like after graduating, felt kind of sad that we missed out on probably like a full year of the college experience. Because looking back, like I miss all the times that we would eat together in the dining halls. Like
I miss the dining hall so much.
Yeah, just go to classes together and walk around campus and study together late nights. It definitely took away our last quarter of living in the dorms together, which is really sad because we never really fully said goodbye to
the dining halls.
Dorms, the dining halls.
It's just about the dining halls.
Yeah. But I feel like the year that was spent in quarantine doing classes during COVID, at least the time that I spent alone at home, like it was really stressful at times and I went kind of crazy, but I got a really great internship experience out of it. Like all the things that happened that led up to the pandemic quarantine kind of helped me get my very first internship. So I'm actually I'm very grateful for it in a way.
I don't know this.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to get into the details, but
it's like quickly.
Yeah, essentially I was like up till February, March, and even April of the very start of the pandemic, I got like 1 or 2 internship offers, and I need to think back about the details, but
what's like the takeaway from this?
I ended up the internship that I ended up working at, the company that I ended up working at as an intern, I actually got that offer because I was based in the Bay. Like I had moved back home to quarantine during the pandemic. I actually was given the offer because I was living in the area. due to the pandemic, and because I was able to go into the lab on a daily basis.
Oh, like in-person work?
Yeah, to do in-person work. So that was actually probably the primary reason I was given that offer. And to this day, I still think that was the best job that I've ever had.
Really?
Though that situation, particularly, like, the people that I was able to work with and the scale of the project that I was able to work on, and the scale of, like, the very small size of the company and the daily interactions and the scope of work that I was given as a, like, first-time intern, essentially, and the mentorship that I received were so valuable and definitely changed the trajectory of my career and probably my life, to be dramatic.
Your internships truly kind of direct, like, where you're going to go.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
They don't have to, but they definitely teach you what you like and dislike, and definitely, like, guide you on your next steps throughout your career and your life. So yeah, like, I still hold that internship in very high regard.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kind of to wrap up this, like, college section, there's kind of two parts to this question, so I'm just going to split it up. Top advice for a high schooler that is applying to engineering school, and maybe any tips on, like, how they would have a better chance, or just, like, what they should prepare themselves for.
I haven't thought about high school in so long. Like,
By the way, we're like 6 years out of high school. We're not young anymore. So our memories are a little faltering, but
yeah, but it even goes to before that. Like,
yeah,
it's many more years on top of that, because we're 6 years from high school graduation.
Yeah. Also, the game has changed a lot. I think it's way more competitive now, and it's reflective. I think it's reflected in, like, the difficulty of the job market currently. We can skip that one. I think if I were to give any advice to a high schooler that is thinking about applying to engineering school, I think if you remotely have an interest in how things work and are just interested in the world around you, and if you're in a state where you're just, like, unsure if you should actually go for it or not, I think you should totally go for it. As someone who has gone through that, like, you know, application process and college and everything, like, I don't regret the choice at all. Of course, there's, like, other fields that I would have had, I don't know, like, a happier time in, but in terms of engineering school and, like, applying for it, I think right now I look back and I'm like, yeah, I kind of made the right choice. The other advice is for somebody that is about to graduate engineering and is going to apply to industry. Like, what are some top advice points that you would like to give that person?
I think this applies to, like, your question about high school too. I think it's not that deep.
Hey, she fits right in with this podcast. She really
that's the title. Yeah.
She said it's really not that serious, guys.
I think it's not that deep. Just don't overthink it. A lot of times, yeah, you'll be really stressed about applying to dozens of jobs at the same time. But the reality kind of what? The reality is that you probably won't have a lot of options as a new grad for what your first job is going to be. I kind of realized this more recently, especially after job hunting myself. As you mentioned, like, the job market is not that great, hasn't been that great since the pandemic. It's very much fine to just take the first offer that's out there. because it's the stepping stone for what comes next. Like, you can always work towards bigger and better things. If you decide that you hate your job and want to quit, then
You can always move.
That's the first move. Deciding that you want to like move on from it, and that's when you start working hard and
Yep.
first of all, I guess gaining whatever experience and resume builders that you can from your current job and leveraging that to find like a better path. So it's really
Snaps.
it's really
can't
not
even
that
snap.
deep.
Yeah, it's really not that deep.
I
But
think-
obviously people have like a lot of difficulty, and I think like some people, they don't necessarily know, what's the key? Like what am I doing wrong?
I think that's something you figure out as you go through your
Yeah.
job. Like your very first job, odds are you don't have a lot of it figured out. But being productive is probably the most important thing. Making sure you're learning things that you don't understand and just understanding yourself better, understanding what you like and dislike plays a huge role in like paving your path forward. So
Nice.
yeah, I mean, basically the reason I don't think it's that deep is because whatever decision you make now is not going to be the end of it.
Right. There's always going to be a next step as long as you don't give up and you keep trying.
Yeah.
So, yeah. As for my advice for somebody that is worried about or struggling to either get that next internship or get that next job, so I think you gave a lot of positive words, but I'm going to give a little bit of harsh truth, I think. So I have been next to people who give phone interviews and look at resumes, and it really is not that serious in terms of like offending you. Like how they look at a resume is like how they look at a menu almost. And they're like, I'm not feeling it. Then you're out. Like it's really not that serious. Like if you get rejected, it's not as deep as you might think. Like it really could have been just vibes. Like or just like, oh no, there's just like slightly not that experienced, or like we're looking for this specific skill set. So that's my first point is like if you get a rejection, just don't feel like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Like I'm just a terrible engineer. It's really not that. It's about like the mismatch of what they were looking for versus what you currently are kind of selling yourself as. And on the note of like selling yourself, when it comes to your resume and how you should create a resume, in the engineering world, they truly are looking for experience, and I think very targeted experience. So if you are applying to, say, the test team, then they want to see that you have both like leadership, they want to see like loyalty in whatever project that you are doing, and they want to see targeted, specific activities and things you have led and things you have done that align with the job description. So like whatever listing that they have, just make sure that all the key buzzwords kind of align with what you have in your resume. And so
You can use ChatGPT.
You can use ChatGPT.
That's what I've been
these days.
doing. I just copy the text of the job description, put it into ChatGPT, and say, create a few resume bullet points based on this job listing.
I've actually never done that. I don't use ChatGPT for anything, but I think I'm just being stupid about that, honestly.
I've been trying to use it more because, a lot of times I try to brute force things, and then I realize way too late that this thing exists now.
Yeah.
This AI that I don't know if I enjoy it or not, but it's helpful.
I should
Also,
use it more.
what you said earlier, I feel like we're very much in the same vein about it not being that deep, because I have interviewed almost like I've done probably 10 interviews in the last 2 or 3 months.
I've actually never done one.
Yeah, I've interviewed, I've interviewed about 10 people in the last 3 months, for 3 different roles. I conducted interviews for my previous role as a reliability engineer, my current role as a test engineer, and then also I've interviewed candidates to be my own manager.
That's weird.
Well, it's pretty common, actually.
That's true. I've only heard of like group interviews for those.
What do you mean?
As in like all the juniors will basically just interview the manager together.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like on a panel?
Basically. But that makes sense too.
We did that. Yeah, we have our interviews are typically 2-on-1s. So I interviewed the candidates with my fellow teammate, who would also be the direct report of this person that we hire, and the other people on the panel, because my team was only like 2 people, 2 individual contributors. The other people on the interview panel were all managers, directors, senior directors, TPMs. So we were the most junior, but we also had the highest weight we had the most weight and the most say in who we hired because we were hiring our direct manager.
Got it.
Yeah, it was a very interesting situation, and through being an interviewer, I learned a lot about how not deep it really all is.
It really isn't. Oh my goodness.
It's very dependent on the interviewer's mood. It's, again, very dependent on the business needs at the time.
Yeah.
For example, we interviewed probably 4 or 5 people for the role of test engineer, and we were open to hiring either a level 1 or level 2 engineer. We had this level 2 candidate, or borderline level 2, level 3 candidate, that a lot of people wanted to hire. And then we had another candidate that was a late level 1 that we also thought would be a good fit. So because we hadn't concretely said that we wanted we hadn't concretely decided what level the new hire should be, because of business reasons, financial reasons, we decided to actually go with the level 1 candidate, even though the level 2 candidate was actually much more highly qualified for the job and had a lot of the fit for the job that we wanted. We ended up going with the level 1 because we also saw potential in them, and honestly, that and a good attitude and being smart, being able to think on your feet, and having the attitude to keep learning and being proactive on the job was a very key point in us extending the offer to him.
Yeah.
Or to them.
Yeah. But okay, obviously it's not 100% on just the interviewer and how it feels and business needs. Again, the baseline is that you should be prepared for your interview. You should know your resume like the back of your hand. And I think above all else, in my opinion, confidence and just being relaxed while you're in your interview will make you seem so much more sellable than it'll put you from a 4 to a 6. That's how much of a difference it makes in my head. I don't know if you agree.
I agree somewhat. I think, across the different candidates we interviewed, we definitely were able to detect a lack of confidence. It doesn't necessarily dock points. I think I would have to look back on my interview notes, but and my scorecards for the candidates. But I think one of the things that threw me off about one of the candidates was that they were a little bit egotistical and overly confident. And
okay, don't do that.
docked a lot of points for me, because, I mean, as a company, one of our 3 core values is excellence without ego. And I do believe that everyone we hire embodies that value. So if like 4 out of 6 people on the panel have like a small nagging feeling that this candidate wouldn't fit well culturally, then we definitely wouldn't hire them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
I think
actually very
we're very
nice.
attuned as a company to the company culture.
Got
I think
it.
that's a really great thing about my current company.
Yeah, that sounds really nice.
Yeah.
At my current company, it's everyone's pretty nice. I think everyone just makes a conscious effort. It's not something that is explicitly mentioned, other than just like, oh, just be polite and nice to your coworkers. But yeah, everyone's generally nice. But yeah, I think like she mentioned, just to close that thought up, it's a fine balance. Confidence. I mean confidence in a do not be an asshole way, for sure. Don't be egotistical. Just be confident in the work that you did. So if you did your work and you did your work well, you should be confident about the work that you did, and you should be able to explain it correctly and well. If you are unable to do that, I think that could come off as a lack of knowledge of what you did and lack of depth in that specific project. So I think that's kind of where I was going at. But obviously, when you have high nerves and you're like not really prepared, and you could go into that interview like without a very strong mentality, you could really funnel yourself into just looking like you didn't do anything well or delve deep into your projects. So be confident, y'all. So my camera's actually running out of battery, so we're gonna take a short little break before we jump into the industry questions. And obviously this pod is lasting a little bit long, so I'm gonna whittle it down to maybe like 2 or 3 questions, but we're gonna take a short little interim, fill up our drinks again, take a little break, and then we'll be right back. All right, peace. Yeah, it's pretty late at night right now, and we've had a pretty long day. So we're going to try to wrap this up pretty quickly. The rest of the questions, I'm sorry, I'm like literally forcing her to stay awake, but
I'm awake.
you're awake. But literally right after this, we're going to go to bed.
I have to shower.
I also have to shower. Okay, so just to kind of recap, we just went over the college questions. So any questions regarding like our advice for people going through college or like about to go to college, and especially engineering college, and just our experiences there. And right now we are gonna go over things in industry. So we've been in industry now for 2 years. I'm about 2 years and a couple months in, and I think you're probably the same, right? So just to kind of start from the beginning, thoughts on doing a master's program out of college versus just going into industry. Like, who is it for, and like what are your thoughts about it?
Really depends on if you want to find a specific area of focus, I think. I think you definitely need a master's if you want to go into like controls or thermodynamics or fluid mechanics. Those are all very specific areas of mechanical engineering that typically require you to have a higher level of understanding in those topics. I think for generalists like myself who don't really have a desire to get into the nitty-gritty of like freaking thermodynamics, you definitely don't need a master's. I am not planning to do one I won't get into that, but I'm not planning to do one. I am pretty happy with what I'm working on now and the higher level of systems knowledge that is necessary for the role. I don't think a master's is necessarily required for that role. There are a couple of people on my team that do have masters, and it definitely did help them get the job. But now that I'm in the role that I am in with those people, there's plenty that I can do without having a specific area of focus, and I get along just fine.
Yeah.
Like, as I am today.
Yeah. I think it truly is, like, about priority, about, like, what you want out of, I guess, like, the rest of your life. I'm not open to doing a master's, but I think in this point in time, it's a little hard to leave, like, a stable income and go pursue, like, a higher form of education, especially because I think people will probably have mixed thoughts about this opinion, but coming out of college, I believe that a year of experience is almost equivalent to a year of, like, master's, like doing a master's degree.
You mean
in terms of, like,
work experience versus a year-long master's?
Exactly. Like, on a resume, I almost want to say, like, those are kind of equally looked at.
I have things to say about that, but this will turn into a very long discussion.
I know. That's extremely debatable. It's also dependent on the industry and dependent on the company. So I think if we're talking about a research lab or anything that is more like R&D based, I think a higher form of education is definitely more valued. Whereas for companies that are a little bit more like manufacturing based and more like action based companies that just need more hands-on people, I think either one of those, if not, I think they would almost value the work experience a little more. So it truly depends on the company and, like, what you're looking for out of a job. So definitely if you want to pursue a higher education and have a deeper understanding of, like, the concepts and be able to apply those concepts to your work, if applicable, I think totally, like, go for it. Again, I'm not open to do a master's, like, but I'm not going to close that door, but I don't have any thoughts about, like, actually going through that door right now.
There's also a lot of options, like online masters. They take a little bit longer, but you can do them while working full time if you do so have the desire to be overworked.
We actually did consider doing an online master's quite recently, actually.
Who's we?
Me and you.
I never did.
Was it not you? To do, like...
No.
Oh, no, sorry. That was, like, coding classes. Yeah. But actually, I was considering doing a data science master's online, because there's, like, quite a few of those that are offered. And at the time, at least for a reliability engineer, like, data is extremely important. And so I thought it would help me with my work. So that was, like, my reasoning for it. And I think a lot of people actually go to do a master's for that reason as well. So, yeah, it's kind of just up to you.
Again, I don't think it's that deep because at the end of the day, it's like anywhere between 1 and 2 years. And in the long scheme, in the grand scheme of things, 2 years out of your life is really not that much. If you are losing a whole lot of sleep going back and forth debating about whether you should do it or not, I don't think
I don't
think doing one or the other will, like, drastically alter your life or drastically, like, increase or reduce your opportunities in the future.
I agree. And I think especially like most people considering that are definitely younger and probably just fresh out of college.
Yeah.
And so like stress on the younger, I think you're so young at that point in time. You still have so much time after your master's to like rack up your work experience. So it's like kind of just one and the same. I don't know. But as someone that came from like not so financially stable family, I think for me it just made more sense to go directly into the workforce and like start earning money instead of like take out loans for a master's. And of course there's like so many programs where like you get paid for a master's, and also if you like TA or get like, you know, hefty financial aid, like it could be paid for. And obviously like I was not willing to put in the work to actually research into all of that. This could go either way. I think, like, so the question is, do you have any outstanding, I don't know, not outstanding, but like things that really pop into your mind about being a female in a male-dominated industry? Do you have any thoughts or like specific experiences that you want to share?
Yeah. When I first joined the current company that I'm working for, I was hired onto the reliability team. And that team is a group of four guys, and under a male director.
And you were the only woman?
And I was the only woman. I was the youngest by 10 years, and I was also the only Asian. So I kind of felt like a diversity hire sometimes.
Oh, man.
I didn't, like, again, I don't think it's that deep.
It really isn't. I think I would agree with that, like, wholeheartedly.
Yeah, the older I get, the more I feel like things are really not that deep.
Welcome to my podcast, where we talk about why things are not that deep.
And it's not that deep.
I'm having these realizations these days too. Yeah. That's why like I named my podcast this way. But I think you're also reaching the same point.
To be honest, I did not remember the name of your podcast when I was saying those things.
But it's so true.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is all in retrospect. Like looking back, of course you're going to think that your old self was kind of silly for worrying about certain things. But
to preface, she hasn't listened to my first podcast. She didn't do her homework like I asked her to. So clearly she doesn't know.
I don't know what you talked about in episode 1.
But I think like
these are standalone episodes.
It's almost important to mention this because I think people like my age, like you're my age, and you're in the same somewhat situation as me, and you have concluded the same thought. And I think that's really important to note is like even between two people that have not shared this sentiment,
like
or have not like talked about this
with each other,
has come to the same conclusion. It's like, oh wow, you know, it's not just like me. It's not like I'm not just yapping about nothing. Like I think more people have come to the same conclusion. So specifically younger people, like if you're worrying a lot, just know things are greener on the other side.
Yeah, I definitely feel like my company is taking some initiatives. They are actually employee-led, fed into HR goals to hire more female engineers. I am like borderline on like whether we should be pushing to screen like pass more female identifying people through the like phone screen and the first interview round to get them to the panel interview. And also but I also think there is value in doing like a total blind interview process and fully just hiring based on ability and skill set. So it's difficult because I definitely want to advocate for more females in engineering. It's just like the applicant pool is not present. Like I don't know where I'm going with this, honestly. Obviously, there's things that I can and should be doing. Like, SWE is a really great organization for advocating for girls in STEM and getting younger women started early in STEM disciplines to help nurture like the pool of people that go into engineering majors. I feel like I've been fortunate enough to not have been discriminated against as a woman in engineering, but I know a lot of my peers have, and I've heard a lot of just really bad stories about people receiving kind of backhanded compliments
Just comments.
or backhanded comments about them being a female in engineering, and
or just
it
anything,
feels
really
really bad to hear that.
Like Asian, it could be anything. Yeah. I think same. In terms of myself, I don't know if I've ever experienced firsthand any discrimination or any backhanded comments. But also, I want to mention that I'm extremely oblivious to these certain things, and I think I've always grown up like that. But I've definitely heard from peers who work directly with me who have experienced some discrimination for being a female. But anyway, we don't want to, be ignorant of people's experiences. And we do realize, and again, like we said, we've heard firsthand of very terrible discrimination and very weird comments and like things going on. And so we've recognized that these things do happen. It's just, I think, from what we have seen and experienced firsthand, we have yet to, meet that firsthand. Okay, so I think we're both getting really tired. It's like 12. It's like midnight, a little past midnight, if anything. So we're going to wrap it up with this final question. Would you recommend engineering overall as a career?
Yeah.
Nice. Do you have any reasons?
Personally, I think it's fun. Even though my job is pretty stressful, it's very rewarding. It's very rewarding because I get to see the fruits, the results of my day-to-day work on a day-to-day basis. I think, especially with the short attention span that I have now, it was kind of grueling to go to work every day and work on a very long-term project and not be able to see the results of that project. I'm more so speaking to the role that I'm in now, that the kind of testing that I do is very fast-paced, and the things that I do are very hands-on, and I personally find that really fun because I get to I'm like the first line of defense when things break, and I am figuring out why those things break, and I'm fixing them, and I am also writing reports on them and relaying that information down the line. And I just find that turnaround and dissemination of information really really seamless, in part because of the culture of the company that I work for, but also it's just really rewarding to see that the work that I'm doing has a large impact on my company and also like the industry that I'm in.
Mm-hmm. So you just enjoy seeing the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, I'm a lot happier in my
Nice.
current role now.
Nice.
It's pretty sad last year.
I think for me, let's see. I think my answer is also yes. I would recommend engineering as a career path for just literally anybody. However, I think my explanation is a little different because I actually come from a place where I am not passionate about engineering whatsoever. I like the job. I like being an engineer because I feel important, and I think it's a little egotistical in that way. Is the fact that like, you know, I drive important decisions and you know, I'm like a major stakeholder in certain projects, and I get to, you know, delegate tasks or take on tasks myself and be really hands-on with like the technical things and like hardware manufacturing, all of that. But as someone that isn't necessarily super passionate about like the technicalities of everything, I think I would recommend it just from the fact that I believe in my job stability, at least in the jobs that I've had. They both have been somewhat stable and they both have been very well paying. And I think that allows me to live a life that I want to live. So like financial freedom, like obviously I moved in to a new apartment by myself. Like all of that could not have been done if I hadn't done engineering. So from a financial standpoint, and I think a lot of my decisions and a lot of my feelings are dependent on finance, but from that kind of point of view, I like truly do recommend it. I think if you want to be a financially free person early in your youth, right out of college, I think engineering is a fantastic choice. So that's kind of my reason. But the other reason is there's a lot of clout involved with engineering, especially as a female engineer. I think it's quite unexpected to be like, hey, like I am an engineer, and people are like, oh wow, really? And you know, my shoulders go up a little higher, and I'm like, yeah.
Do you get that a lot? I feel like I don't get that a lot.
I get that a lot with my family. So most of my family is actually in Korea, and I think in Korea, there's obviously a bit more, not discrimination, but more like expectations for like your gender. And my grandma has like asked me multiple times, like, why are you doing engineering? Like, that's a man thing. But her saying that kind of makes me feel cooler. So there's a lot of clout involved with that too. And I'm not ashamed to say it. I think it's cool that I do engineering. And I'm like proud to brag about it. I don't know. Like I tried hard in my school. I got the job that I did. I interviewed for it. Like I earned it. Like I should be able to brag about it. So we're both super tired, also kind of tipsy. Are you tipsy actually? Yeah, I guess I'm not that tipsy.
I think drinking it just made me tired.
We're both tired. We both need to go take a shower and then we both need to go to bed. So I hope all of those points were pretty insightful for the people that are listening. Obviously, there's like way more that we can get into, like certain classes that we've taken or things like that. But obviously, I think an hour is just like not enough time to go into all of that. And so we're just going to cut it here. Thank you guys for listening. And remember, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling mad, it's not that serious. No, I'm just kidding. We're joking. Of course, like, things are sometimes serious, but it's not that serious.
It's not that deep.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.